Now if there's one thing I like in video games, it's stylized violence. You know the trope. You can't just stab someone with your sword and be done with it. Oh no. First you have to throw your opponent into the air, hit them with multiple sword swings, smash them to the ground, stab them 25 times in the space of 3 seconds, and then throw in a powerful finishing strike and maybe decapitation for good measure. So what does that have to do with the title of the video, I hear you ask? Simple. The 10 characters on this list help to take stylized violence and unique methods of combat to the ultimate extreme. Whether they can take out an army of enemies in less than a minute, can get a headshot by ricocheting a bullet off a metal beam so it hits their target in the back of the head, or can kill a giant water creature using only a sword, these 10 characters can pretty much be called gods on the battlefield. It doesn't matter whether they're fun to play as or satisfying to beat, as long as they have a unique fighting style or weapon, I'll give them a place on my list. But first, let's lay down the rules. One per franchise, only from games I've played, and their fighting style doesn't just have to be unique from their games, but from video games as a whole. So that means that characters like Kirby, Magnus, Kefka and Psycho Mantis are all out. Also, I won't be featuring any characters that the Green Scorpion featured on his Weapons Month countdowns, just to make things interesting. Right, let's get started.
Now you're just being nasty. That nickname you love so much. Wanna know how I got it? Actually, why don't I give you a demonstration? I think it's time for Jack to let her rip!
Let's start this list off with one of my favourite franchises, Super Smash Bros. Or rather, the third game in the series, Brawl. Now Brawl's a tricky one to pick from, seeing as you have him, and especially him. But number 10 is none of these. It is actually Mr. Game & Watch. Now every other character has a definite weapon they can bring to the Brawl. Mario brings his cape and power-ups, Link brings his standard Zelda arsenal, Snake brings his grenades, and Samus brings her power suit and arm cannon. But what do you give Nintendo's 2D mascot from the 80s? The answer? Whatever you can get your hands on. Mr. Game & Watch has the largest amount of weapons and the most varied move pool out of all the characters in the Brawl roster. He puts on a diving helmet and headbutts people, hurls food out of a frying pan, whacks enemies with a hammer, throws oil all over them, and even uses 2 firemen with a safety net and a parachute as part of his jumps and recovery. His final smash is even more unexpected. He turns into a giant octopus which can cause some serious damage. However, there is one thing that keeps him from being any higher, and that's because he's very hard to use effectively due to his large variety of attacks, and I find him very difficult to master and his final smash is hard to use to great effect. These things aside, I love using this guy seeing as he is so much fun to play as. I really hope Nintendo bring him back for Super Smash Bros. 4.
I think it's time for Jack to let her rip!
Now if there was one game I was fairly skeptical about in recent years, it was Punch-Out Wii. I felt that it could either be really great or just suck. I bought it and instantly loved it. It's home to a group of 15 boxes with great personalities, and King Hippo, and each of these boxes has their own unique fighting style so the game never gets old. You probably think I've chosen Great Tiger for the number 9 slot, haven't you? Well, you'll be wrong. I've chosen Aaron Ryan. Oh boy, this guy has some serious anger issues and is really psychotic. He's also Irish, which is a plus. He has no concept of rules or a fair fight. While training, he puts horseshoes into his gloves. In his first fight, he tries to take you down with him, and in his rematch, he brings a weapon with him. I'm telling you, that Punch-Out referee is probably blind. Aside from his insanity, Aaron Ryan is one of the more unique fighters in Punch-Out, seeing as you can only hit him when either he taunts you, moves in close to attack you, or when he launches a special move. Even then, you can only hit him a maximum of 7 times before he moves away and prepares another attack. Seriously, what is it with this guy in number 7? At last count, there were a total of 7 sevens in the fights with him. He's 6'1" and weighs 160 pounds, has 16 wins by KO, has fought in 29 total fights, out of which he's won 18. In exhibition mode, you have to hit him with 7 star punches as one of the challenges, and in title defense, one of the challenges is to KO him in the 7th minute of the fight. Jeez, Nintendo, nobody said there'd be maps.
For the last fucking time, nobody said there'd be maps!
Anyway, if you don't want to fight him how I mentioned, good luck hitting him when he's bouncing all over the ring. Well, you could just stun him by countering when he headbutts you, but your timing needs to be perfect, or you better be prepared for a lot of pain. There you have it. Aaron Ryan, the insane Irish boxer from Dublin, and we all love him for it.
I think it's time for Jack to let her rip!
Okay, how many of you are expecting a character from Team Fortress 2 to be on here? I'm actually surprised myself. I wasn't really going to consider this game's cast, seeing as to some, the only unique class this game has is the Pyro, what with his arsenal of fire-based weapons. But flamethrowers are a really common weapon in video games. If Fury has one, Matt Helms has one, both Bruticus and Grimlock from Transformers Followed Cybertron have one. There's even a move in the Pokemon series called Flamethrower. So who takes number 8 slot? The Medic does. Oh Josh Scorcher, ye would be proud. While the Medic isn't my favourite class in the game, that honour goes to the Scout, I feel there is a lot more to the Medic than meets the eye. The Medic's primary job is a supporter, to heal the team and ubercharge them when ready, but there is much more to the Medic than that. He has a wide arsenal of weapons and equipment, some for support, but some can be used to deal critical damage. Hell, one of his weapons can sap health from enemies, and his syringe gun can cause some serious damage if you underestimate it. Experienced Medic players have also been known to defeat an enemy heavy with no backup, apart from a lone sniper or two. It's also his syringe gun and uber sword that allows him to defend himself very easily. That coupled with his trademark Medigun make an experienced Medic play an absolute must for any team, especially on Man vs. Machine.
I think it's time for Jack to let her rip!
Now we're really starting to kick it up a notch, as we're now taking a look into Mad World. This game features so many great boss battles, each with their own unique weapon and fighting style, and I could have chosen practically anyone, except for the Shamans. They were terrible, and nobody likes them. I could have gone with the likes of the Black Baron, Little Eddie, Rin, Yokozuna, or even Jude the Dude, but instead I chose a boss based on using sheer force to overwhelm you in the heat of battle, a boss who left a former Deathwatch champion with a collapsed lung, a boss who only needs to have one line of dialogue to show you that he means business. That boss is Herr Frederick von Swirling-Killer. Oh boy, the second I saw this boss I knew I was going to be in for a tough fight. Von Swirling-Killer is basically a Nazi Darth Vader with freaking jet turbines for arms. And boy does he know how to use those things. He can launch tornadoes at you from his turbines, use them to travel or even throw cars and pieces of the arena at you. He can also deal some brutal combo punches backed up by the force of those turbines to deal some major damage, and can also combine these two methods of attack by launching Jack into the air and initiating a power struggle. Even after Jack brutally saws off one of his arms halfway through the fight, Von Swirling-Killer completely shrugs it off and continues to attack you. In this part of the fight, Von Swirling-Killer can now slam his remaining arm into the ground and spin himself around to perform a high-speed spin kick. Von Swirling-Killer may only be a low-ranked Deathwatch contestant, but he will always be my favourite boss from Mad World. Yes, I prefer the fight against this guy to the final battle. Sue me.
Everybody getting his ass kicked by Jack, raise your hand. Oh wait, he can't raise his hand, can he?
I think it's time for Jack to let her rip!
To be honest, I'm not that too big on the Mega Man games. I've only really played a total of 6 games from the franchise, those being Mega Man 1, 2, 6 and 9, Mega Man X, and Mega Man Battle Network 5. Or as the title screen calls it, Mega Man Battle Network 5 Double Team DS. But I still think that the series does offer up some great boss fights in the form of the various Robot Masters, from Cutman to Groundman, and from Metal Man to Splash Woman. Each of the Robot Masters stands a fair chance of making number 6. Yes, even you, Sheepman. But my favourite comes from my favourite Mega Man game, Mega Man 9. Each of the Robot Masters in this game are old robots about to be decommissioned, so Dr. Wily programs them to allow them to get revenge. Why did the authorities let this guy keep his lab? Anyways, my favourite Robot Master, and the number 6 on this list, is none other than Galaxy Man. Now, Galaxy Man's job was to calculate the path of extraterrestrial objects and locate new stars, and his stage is one of the more unique in the Mega Man games. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about his fighting style. When you begin the fight with him, he will hover towards you, dealing damage if you can't get out of the way. His other attack is to create a black hole which will pull you towards him, allowing him to deal a considerable amount of damage. He will then fly up to the ceiling and prepare for the next round. Overall, his fighting style is pretty simple, yet he's higher on the list because he is such a unique concept. He is basically the only video game character I can think of that uses a black hole as a weapon. That and he can turn into a UFO, which kinda reminds me of that awesome copy ability from the Kirby series.
I think it's time for Jack to let her rip!
Now for a game that it appears only I talk about, Lollipop Chainsaw. Well, it's going to be hard for all Suda to top this one. In a way it seems fitting that my number 5 is the main character of the game, Juliet Starling. At first glance, Juliet may seem like a stereotypical cheerleader, but she is much more than meets the eye. She's a hardened zombie hunter who apparently killed her first zombie at 8 months old with a sharpened rattle. And yes, like all zombie hunters, her weapon of choice is a chainsaw. Except hers has numerous attachments including a bazooka grenade launcher combo, and whatever this thing is. Due to her stature, you may think that she'll find it hard to swing that heavy chainsaw around, but she can use it almost effortlessly, even being shown to sling it over her shoulder with one hand. She is so proficient with the weapon of choice that she is able to decapitate 5 zombies with one swing, and even incorporate gymnastic and cheerleader moves into her fighting style. No matter how many zombies she faces, she is never at a disadvantage, as she can use the environment around her to either dispatch her foes with great ease, or make a quick escape route to find a better vantage point from which to attack from. She's also proven herself to be a great tactician on more than one occasion, as she comes up with a plan to rescue her sister Rosalind by using herself as a decoy, drawing all the zombies towards her. Still not convinced why she's on the list? How about this then? After all the Dark Purveyors, which are 5 zombie overlords, are defeated, Juliet single-handedly defeats and completely destroys the giant zombie deity Killer Billy. Just one last thing, never get between Juliet and her family. Both Mariska and Jose found out the hard way. I don't care if they are zombies, that's gonna hurt.
I think it's time for Jack to let her rip.
It would be pretty hard to make a list like this without bringing up the Metal Gear series at some point, seeing as how memorable and downright amazing some of the bosses in this series were, except for the final battle of Metal Gear Solid 2. Burn in hell, Solidus! Despite the completely awful battle with Solidus Snake, I had an extremely hard time picking a unique fighter from the Metal Gear games. However, I haven't played the original Metal Gear Solid, so no fourth wall breaking Psycho Mantis. Aww. However, I can get around this. Remember the B&B Corps in MGS4? Those insane female soldiers with the wickedly awesome combat suits? Thought you might. So I chose one of them for the number 4 slot. And guess what? It's not Screaming Mantis! Before you all rage at me for that, my number 4 is actually the first boss in Guns of the Patriots, and is my favourite member of the B&B Corps, Laughing Octopus. I just don't know why I prefer her over all the others. Maybe it's her insane laughter, the atmosphere of the fight, I don't know. What I do know is how unique her fighting style is. Her Octo-Camera allows her to conceal herself in any environment, meaning that she can silently pop up from anywhere in the arena, which can lead to some heart-pounding surprise attacks. Unless you're using the night vision mode for the Solid Eye, of course. I see you. However, surprise attacks aren't her only form of combat. She can also use the tentacles of her combat suit in a variety of different ways, such as curling up into a ball and deploying an ink cloud smokescreen and seeker mines while she finds a new hiding spot, curling into a ball again, but this time to roll into you, grabbing you with those tentacles and slamming you into the floor, grabbing you and squeezing the life out of you, and even impaling you. She can even use those tentacles to deflect bullets. Naturally, a group of unfortunate NPCs show up to allow Octopus to show off her skills before you fight her. Ooh, I feel sorry for that guy. In addition to this, Laughing Octopus also carries a P-97 machine gun to allow her to attack from a concealed vantage point, or attack enemies which are too far away for her tentacles to reach. Now do you see why she's my favourite member of the B&Bs?
I think it's time for Jack to let her rip.
Another series which I found it really hard to pick from was No More Heroes. I was originally going to go with Alice Twilight and her General Grievous style backpack, but then I remembered Speedbuster and her giant laser cannon, Margaret Moonlight with her rifle sights, Nathan Copeland with his boombox, Let's Shake with his earthquake machine, and Destroy Man with his... yeah. So you're probably wondering who I picked. Well, going on the principle that giant mechas make everything awesome, most of the time anyways, and I'm a sucker for an over-the-top fight between two giant robots, I went with Charlie McDonald. I love this fight so much. I mean, come on, it's a giant mecha fight, which Travis apparently was expecting. Before you actually fight this guy, he and his cheerleaders give you some sort of, well, performance. He then introduces himself and, well, this happens. When the two mechas finally square off in the middle of Santa Destroy, the fight is almost like something out of an anime. Both Travis and Charlie constantly name their attacks and even gives you a few over-the-top special attacks thrown into the mix. Despite this giant mecha, Charlie is easily defeated by Travis, and both him and his mecha are thrown into space and obliterated by a giant laser cannon, courtesy of Senor Travis Touchdown. But before we finish, can I just say that I love this guy's voice? Every time he says something, it brings a smile to my face, due to that over-top stereotypical football player attitude and personality that he has.
think it's time for Jack to let her rip.
Okay, how can I really piss people off at this stage? I don't know. How about placing Girahim at number 2? I already talked about his role in the story of Skyward Sword and his personality in my top 15 Nintendo characters list, so I'm just going to talk about his fighting ability here. Despite having an arsenal of swords, daggers and other weapons that can rival Link's, he also has a load of other abilities that he can call upon to aid him in battle. Remember that tornado that carried Zelda away at the beginning of the game? That was Girahim. He even blocks Link's sword almost effortlessly by using just 2 fingers on his right hand, and even summon diamond-like blades to attack Link without even trying. It should also be noted that Girahim is the only boss in the Zelda franchise who can take Link's weapon from him and attack him with it. Those red diamond blades he can summon can also be used as a projectile weapon, and he can grab Link's sword and launch these diamonds down the blade, guaranteeing a hit. Yet all of this is nothing compared to his final form. In this form, he gains a multitude of different attacks, powers and weapons, including generating electricity from his hands to block the Master Sword, generating mid-air platforms, 2 new swords, and even being able to launch himself and Link into the air. In this form, he even gets a dark version of the Skyward Strike, which he probably learned in mastered after the first 2 battles with Link. So, can you see why I ranked him this high? Okay, time for the old recap. Number 10, Mr. Game & Watch. Number 9, Aaron Ryan. Number 8, The Medic. Number 7, Herr Frederick von Twirlenkiller. Number 6, Galaxy Man. Number 5, Juliet Starling. Number 4, Laughing Octopus. Number 3, Charlie McDonald. And number 2, Girahim.
I think it's time for Jack to let her rip.
Like I even need to say his name.
This party's getting crazy. Let's rock.
Yes, my number 1 is the badass demon killer from Devil May Cry, Dante. Not only is he just so entertaining to watch, he has serious combat skills, which can really show through both the cutscenes and gameplay of the Devil May Cry series. Just look at the intro to Devil May Cry 3 if you want some examples. I mean, look at this! Just look at this! Dante completely shrugs off being impaled, uses the scythe blade stuck in his arm and leg to kill off 3 of his attackers, slides it around on the dead body of one of the demons while shooting the others, and then does something I can only refer to as the pool table maneuver. It's not just those guns that Dante specializes in, however. He also demonstrates some impressive sword skills with that broadsword of his, and it's used a variety of different weapons in the past, such as twin submachine gun, shape-changing demonic briefcase, and a shotgun. All of which is used to take down armies of Grim Reapers, colossal demons of any size and shape you can imagine, and even its own brother Virgil. Sure, Virgil may have greater sword skill than Dante, and an attack so strong it could split apart space and time. Dante was the one who defeated him. As Dante is also half demon, he can unleash his demonic power through a form known as Devil Trigger. In this form, Dante gains increased strength and speed, and occasionally new abilities like flying, at the cost of slow regeneration. I'm a Nintendo kid, and I think that Dante is the most unique warrior in the whole of video games.